Welcome. I'm Wade. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a senior.
I'm James. I'm from Grenada, Mississippi, and I'm also a senior.
I'm Molly. I'm a senior, and I'm from Whiteville, North Carolina.
I'm Baker. I'm from Houston, Texas.
Audra. I'm from Little Rock. Erica from Tupelo.
I'm Haley. I'm also a senior, and I'm from Nashville.
And we are the Elias Group. Okay, executive summary. To start, Tupelo, downtown Tupelo is an awesome place. Before this semester, I had never been. I knew nothing about it, and my first experience with it was a rainy, random Tuesday in September. I wasn't able to make it to the event with the rest of the group. And so I went on my own to downtown Tupelo. I didn't know where to go, who to talk to or anything. But within 5 minutes of being there, I talked to 4 locals. Every single person that saw me on the street said hi. Everyone wanted to bring me inside to their store and show me like the awesome place. My favorite that I saw was the art gallery. Awesome. But so you know, it was just a really warm environment, and I was really surprised that I hadn't heard about it yet. I hadn't really heard of any of the events that were going on. And so that's kind of what we're trying to address. That's the issue. We think that there is a knowledge issue, not so much a actual inherent structural issue. We just think that people at Ole Miss aren't aware of the awesome events that go on. So that's kind of what we're trying to address with this.
So there's SWOT analysis. With your strengths, you have plenty of attractions, multiple bars, restaurants that people want to go to. You have a major slate of events for DTMSA. And then another benefit is that Tupelo is technically a large city, and the downtown area is also a small town, but it also has this southern charm and southern feel to it that makes people feel invited. And it's also, and you know, one of the highlights is that it's the birthplace of Elvis. But some major weaknesses that we saw was the perception among young people. One of the things with millennials in Mississippi is that we are constantly leaving and fleeting because we feel like there are no options for us to stay. But with Tupelo, that's a different story because it's starting to innovate and re-innovate itself. And then again, for at least a part of the population, with a town of 3,000 or 38,000, there's never going to be an attraction that stands out, but we're hoping to deliver something that does stand out. So with opportunities, you already have Elvis. You do a lot of events with Elvis. You have Farmers Market, and then also expanded living downtown, which hopefully should bring more millennials to want to stay. And then growing business sectors to help with corporate sponsorships. The town is also located near a flagship university, and then also, which is Ole Miss, and then located by another university, Sarkville, which could bring in a ton of millennials as well. And then some threats within the competitive environment include other Main Street associations, and then again, the fleeting audience. The one thing we want to hit is your audience to stay, especially the younger ones. It's because they're the ones that stay, they build families, and they're the ones that invest into your nonprofit or to downtown Tupelo itself.
So for our research, like we mentioned before, on September 14th, we went down to Fair Park and attended one of the events put on by the Downtown Tupelo Main Street Association. We noticed that the main demographic we saw were middle to upper class families who seemed to enjoy community-centered entertainment events. And the group noted that the younger population, those in like the mid-20s to early 30s, they arrived to these events later and then followed the events. Following the events, they stayed downtown and would go to the bars and restaurants and things like that. A large group resided in Oxford, which we found surprising, but they did express a huge concern in transportation. It's really expensive to get an Uber there and back, and if you are of drinking age and you do want to enjoy, having a beer at one of the bars or even at one of the festivals, you are going to have to get an Uber. It is expensive, and it's difficult for college students sometimes to afford that, which I think is a big thing that kind of is like blocking, I guess, a lot of students from getting to downtown Tupelo. We also conducted some interviews with a mixture of some younger people and then some middle-aged locals who attended with their spouses and families. And a lot of these people were not first-time attendees, and most of them said they attended the events in their entirety, so they stayed for the whole event. And they also, these people also, even the families, stayed downtown and would go to restaurants. I mean, obviously, not taking their kids to the bars, but would go to the restaurants and stay downtown. And so for the Tupelo natives that we spoke with, they said that they really find out about these events through word of mouth, which we thought was really surprising. Like, that was the biggest response we got from them, was word of mouth. And so they also noted that there's a great job of attracting a wide range of people to these events, from, like, there's events for kids to adults, and a lot of people commented on how well of a job the association does with creating events for every single demographic and age group.
So the main method of research that we used to get our marketing insights was a survey that we conducted online over the period of about 2 weeks. We distributed it across multiple social media platforms, which really helped because most of our responses were actually between 18 and I think 25 to 30. And so we really got responses from the people that we were hoping to target anyways. What we found mostly was that they were unaware of the events that are occurring in downtown Tupelo. So we suggest basically just boosting social media presence, and to definitely outreach, or to focus on outreach to the millennial community here, students in Oxford, and also the survey did end up concluding that social media advertising was the most effective way to communicate to those customers.
And also for your booklets that we have, we included the page numbers as well if you want to look along with us, or if you want to see any additional information. So that's listed here, that you can flip to pages to see the observations, see the interviews, and see the surveys.
And by all means, feel free to stop us at any point if you have any questions or comments. Oh, and so for our target audience, like we said, we really want to go for a younger demographic, specifically Ole Miss students. The younger demographic is because they are going to be the ones to build a continuous interest in downtown Tupelo in the future. So we're going 18 to 35. Also, they're called the super consumer, and according to the Cambridge Group, they are the subset of consumers who drive the most value and are most heavily engaged in this category. But like I said before, we're really, really trying to target Ole Miss students because we think that there's so many events that you guys put on, or the association puts on, that so many students would be interested in if they only knew about it and had a way of transportation that was a little bit easier than, say, Uber, or having to find a driver.
All right, campaign concept. So we've kind of established that the two major issues facing downtown Tupelo from the perspective of our target demographic is, one, a lack of knowledge. Again, from the survey, hardly any people that were surveyed had heard of any of these events. And we think that's a shame. Two, there's no way to get there other than paying for, $100 Uber, crazy expensive cab, or getting a sober driver. There's no real way to do that. So our campaign addresses those two major issues. We have a print presence, we have a radio presence, a lot of social media, that's kind of the biggest aspect, but also billboards and promotional materials. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, guys. We think that with just a little money and a lot of highly targeted messaging, we can, get the word out that there's a lot of really fun stuff to do in downtown Tupelo.
Sorry, just a real quick clarification on the Uber expenses. Are you talking about people within Tupelo?
No, we're talking about Ole Miss
going from like Oxford to
We're
Tupelo
talking about
on Uber.
Ole Miss students going to Oxford
Okay.
to
All right,
because
thank you.
that was initially our plan was to stay at that event and really experience Tupelo late into the night, but that was not really an option. We didn't get any hotel stipends or anything for this project, so we couldn't do it. But people from Ole Miss, they don't really have a way. What was I? So I told you all about the 4 or 5 media channels we're going to use. But so the big idea here is big things come from small places. Tupelo has crazy fun events that you'd find in any big city. But you know, it also has the small town southern feel of like any of these great Mississippi, you know, small towns. It's got the best of both worlds, and we think that we can, you know, market that idea to people our age, and we think there are a lot of people in Oxford that have no idea where they want to go after they graduate, no idea what they want to do, and the goal here is to make Tupelo a fun and interesting location.
So one of our medium concepts is Rebel Radio. It's a top 40 format, and it is a commercially licensed college station. It broadcasts 24 hours, 7 days a week, but with our estimated cost, it would literally cost $2,000 a month just to advertisement with them, and that's for 3 months. It's $8 for a morning drive, $8 for a afternoon or daytime spot, and then $5 for run of schedule. They run for morning drive and daytime from Monday through Friday, and then run of schedule is 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. So we're planning to do 3 in the morning, 3 for the daytime part, and then 3 for run of schedule, 7 days a week. Well, 5 days for Monday through Friday, and then 7 days for the run of schedule. The big thing with Rebel Radio and millennials, surprising fact is that 67.8 millennials are reached weekly through radio, and over 92% of millennials listen to radio weekly. So that's a big number. I mean, you wouldn't expect millennials to listen to radio, especially with iTunes and other music categories out there, but they do. And then also with radio, it's a mobile advertising. So especially with your car, you can also listen to it on your phone as well, because most phones with technology have the FM chip installed. So that's one of the reasons why we chose Rebel Radio, was because it's one of those mediums that clearly can reach our target audience and drive home your message of big things, small places. So we created 3 mock examples. One right here we have listed. The other 2 are listed in your Appendix 1 along with cost. So basically it just opens up with like familiar sounds of bud and burgers. We use bud and burgers as an example event. Opens up with birds chirping, the sound of spring, because that's the beginning event. It's in spring. And then it goes bud and burgers, name a greater duo, I'll wait. So it kind of throws in that college theme of like a song that says, name a greater duo, I'll wait, which kind of grabs your attention immediately. This is something they want to listen to, and it starts lifting off like, of course, there's also live music, great drinks, entertainment. And then each time it goes on to explain what the event is. And so with each radio example, that's exactly what we did. We threw in a tagline, made you aware of it, and then wanted to make you read more or listen more into the radio advertisement. So if you want to find out more about those, it's in Appendix 1 if you want to see more examples.
And I'm going to add one clarification. That's 67.8 million, not just 67.8.
Oh, the million.
Forgot
part.
the million, yeah.
So yeah.
Another way that we wanted to spread this message and just kind of bring home this to the target is through billboard advertisements. So we imagined that you need to strategically place these along Highway 6 from Oxford to Tupelo and along I-22 going into town. We also thought that it would be very relevant to bring these to the digital billboards that we have in town, just the one going out by the mall and the one at Crosstown, just to increase exposure to the millennial audience. This wraps back around into the social media platforms that we're trying to connect with our audience, and so we've included the hashtag of big things in small places and just really try to relay it back to our social media presence, which we think would be the most effective form of communication.
So we believe that print advertising is a great way to, an effective way to reach a wide audience. We'd like to focus on print advertising efforts throughout Tupelo and Oxford. We'd like to focus on the magazines Invitation Tupelo and Invitation Oxford, as well as the newspapers, the Daily Journal of Tupelo and the Daily Mississippian, student-run paper on the Ole Miss campus. In addition to that, we'd like to use our same print advertisements, handing them out with basically little or no cost to local businesses in Tupelo and Oxford and across the Ole Miss campus. And right here on this example advertisement, big things, small places will be the hashtag we'd like to use uniformly across our print advertisements to create the same message to create awareness for downtown Tupelo and the Street Association.
Okay, we also created a few designs for sample promotional materials, which we actually thought could be handed out at the events, and we really think that that would kind of incentivize attendance. And a lot of the materials, the money to fund that can actually come from corporate sponsors, because some materials can include the sponsors' logos and names on the back. Additionally, actually, we thought that member organizations or businesses downtown could also pass out these koozies and with lists of their names instead of the corporate sponsors' names. Basically, we didn't really think about more like notebooks and stuff like that, because koozies and pens are things that you use a lot, and things that don't really get just kind of thrown away. So if you get a free pen, you know, you're like, that's good, that could be useful. If you get a free koozie, you don't usually just throw that away. So those are usually the most effective sample, or the most effective promotional materials to hand out, and they're also the cheapest. It costs around $70 to $200 to $250 to create around between like 500 and 1,000 of these koozies, depending on the manufacturer and who you order them from. And then obviously, if you use a local Tupelo business, they could cut a discount. So there's that.
Okay, one of the most effective ways to reach a large audience on a smaller budget is through social media. And our target audience is millennials. Every single one of us has a cell phone, and almost every single one of us uses a social media medium. So the three that we want to hit are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we kind of came up with just a couple ideas that I haven't seen on any of the pages yet. So Facebook offers a really cool application where you can create a quiz. Millennials like to be interactive with social media. You know, we don't want to just read something and get information. We want to be involved in something, you know, get results, something to share that we've done. So I actually created a quiz called the Budweiser quiz, and it says test your Budweiser knowledge, and it just consisted of 5 short questions about Budweiser that could be easy, kind of funny. And you can take the quiz, and after you take the quiz, you get a free token to use at the event itself to kind of get people to, you know, that's also an incentive to get them to actually go, not just take the quiz on Facebook. And then, of course, share the results, get more of their friends to take the quiz, and maybe get a group together to go and create a little buzz. For Instagram, one of the biggest things on Instagram that I noticed is I didn't really see any boosted ads. Instagram offers a really cool application to where you can target a certain area and boost an ad in that certain location. So you guys could select a geographic circle around the Ole Miss campus on the Instagram app and pay to have it show up on all of our news feeds. You know, so you could hit us at a certain time of day where, you know, the 1 to 2 o'clock time is when a lot of us are eating lunch or wandering around campus. We're on our phones. And that would show up on our feed, a picture that you've posted on Instagram. And you can also add links to those as well that we can select and go to the Facebook page, which will lead us to the quiz. We kind of threw together a budget. We'll go more over that at the end, but there's detailed budgets for Facebook and for Instagram within the campaign booklet. The big thing for Twitter is, you know, not a lot of people boost their posts on Twitter, and they don't really spend money on Twitter. But students love to see funny material or just a personality. So we were thinking that Downtown Tupelo could create a personality for their Twitter page. You know, respond to people that are tweeting them, or respond to tweets that they see on their page. You know, go through, follow people, and so students will go and look at that Twitter page if it has good quality material, and especially interactive is what we're always going for.
That's also why we created the phrase "big things come from small places," because it can be used as a hashtag. A lot of times with hashtags, especially Twitter, if you keep reposting or tweeting, they start to trend over time, and so you start building awareness that way too. So that's kind of why we did that hashtag, was to create awareness and to build a trend that people would see and that would gain popularity among DTMSA.
So we also drafted some sample press releases regarding our campaign and also regarding the sponsorship. And we've compiled a list of publications that we'd like to send these to that we think would help target our audience. So the first is howdytoddy.com, and it has a very large student readership in the Oxford area. The community is very involved with howdytoddy.com, and actually a lot of parents follow the pages as well, because my mom's super obsessed with it. And so that's a good way to keep people up to date about what's going on in Tupelo as well. Then we have the Daily Journal, which is actually already listed as a sponsor of DTMSA, and so we thought that the Journal would be a good way to keep local people and like the audience that you're already targeting, still keep them updated on new things that are going on. Then we have the Daily Mississippian, which is another one that really drives our message directly to our target audience, because that's our student-run newspaper on campus. And then the Courier, just another Tupelo publication to keep locals updated. And then Invitation Oxford and Invitation Tupelo magazine are two that we thought had kind of an older readership than what our target audience specifically is. But we wanted to include those as well because it's just a good way to get people interested in DTMSA and interested in the events that would be able to keep coming back for more than like 4 to 5 years, you know. And then the last is the Local Voice, and that's one that's read by pretty much everyone in the Oxford area. And it keeps, I mean, they announce bar specials, news, like things that are going on, festivals, events, and so if they would feature those press releases, it would also be a good way to get the message out.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the travel issue. We're proposing a sponsorship, partnership, more accurate, with Megabus. Megabus, some of you might be familiar with it, others might not. It is a long-distance ride-sharing company, or a bus company. And they service really cheap routes all throughout the country. They've got a route that takes you from Memphis to Oxford already, so they know the area. What we propose is a partnership with them. So what they would provide is a shuttle to and from these events, from Oxford to Tupelo before the event and back after the event. People would buy, like a $10 ticket, and with that ticket, it would get them a spot on the bus, and then it would also give them some sort of like gimme promotional thing, maybe like a free Budweiser or free like food tasting for the Bud and Burgers event. It helps y'all because it gives Ole Miss students a really easy way to get to and from these events, which is, in our opinion, the biggest hurdle facing downtown Tupelo. And it helps Megabus because you get hundreds of kids that, a lot of whom live out of state and probably would rather take a $10 bus trip than a $100, $200 flight. So it's equally beneficial because they're getting a lot of promotion, and then y'all are getting a way to funnel Ole Miss kids into the events. And so we think that kind of addresses really the biggest issue, and it'd be a way to guarantee some amount of traffic from the school. And we think in conjunction with the Rebel Radio ads and stuff like that, we can promote that as an easy and free way, or not free, but as an easy way to get to and from these events.
So for the measurability of the success of our campaign, we actually think it's going to be pretty simple to do so, given that we have decided to target Ole Miss students and target millennials who are most easily reached by social media. So we found that since one of our objectives is to increase our social media presence, probably a very easy way to measure the impact of the campaign would be just based upon like how many impressions each social media post or ad receives. And it can even be measured as a ratio of impressions to time. So like if a post got 100 impressions in an hour, that's a pretty good ratio. And so then for our second objective, which was to increase millennial participation in and attendance of DTMSA's events, it's pretty easily measurable because of the partnership that we proposed with Megabus, to just know the number of tickets that are being bought for the shuttle, and also by the number of the vouchers that Wade mentioned that were redeemed with different vendors.
All right, for the budget, this is the good part. For y'all, this is $18,000 under budget. You might think I'm crazy, but we are really of the opinion that there's nothing broken or wrong with downtown Tupelo. It's an awesome spot. People here just need a little bit of information, and it's not all that expensive to target people if you're doing it in such a condensed area. We're highly focused and targeted on our specific demographic, and as you can see, so we're going to spend, oh man, I can't even read that.
I got it.
Okay, yeah.
So roughly for Rebel Radio, that would be $6,000, again, $2,000 for 3 months. This would kick off the beginning campaign of Bud and Burgers, and it would go throughout the events for each month. Next up would be print ads, roughly costs around $3,000 again for the 3 months. Moving on to billboards, the same estimated cost of $3,000 for the 3 months. And then social media would be $10,000, which would total up to about $22,000.
So with that $18,000 that you still have left, you got a lot more flexibility. You know, say the billboards are really, you know, going great. A lot of people are Instagramming them and stuff like that. Well, great. You got more money to spend on that. Say that the social media stuff is really taking off. Well, great. You got more money to spend on that. Our plan provides for a lot of flexibility. And, you know, I really can't say it enough. We don't think that it is going to take that much money to get a bus full, several busfuls of people, Ole Miss students, to go to an event that they would already and have already shown interest in attending. You know, that's what the survey that we did kind of backs it up. They're interested in the events. They'd love to do it. But, you know, they just need to know about it, and they need a way to get there. And our campaign addresses both those two major hurdles. And, again, at a low cost. So we think we're providing the best value for what you're getting. We don't think that y'all need to reinvent the wheel. I know I've said it already, but I think it's the perfect example for what the situation is. Y'all are doing everything right. It's just the microphone needs to get a little louder. But that's all we've got for y'all. If you got any questions?
I was going to say one thing.
Oh, sorry.
Just especially with the budget, especially like, I mean, we had plenty of creative ideas that we wanted to pitch at you. But again, we stuck with simple and plain because we want to see how effective we can stretch our audience and reach. And after that, we had other creative ideas. So say we have this open to budget. There were ideas along the lines of like Uber. And when we have Megabus, we have transit advertising. One of the biggest things with Uber right now is advertising. Is it legal? Is it not? So apart with Megabus, or if you've got Uber to sponsor DTMSA, you could partly put advertising in Uber. That way, when you're transporting people in the local area, they can see the advertisements for future events, and the same with Megabus. And again, with transit advertising, to spare costs, you could print it on both sides. That way, you could flip it every 30 to 60 days, and it would spare you a little more money or change in your pocket. Another thing with that, with other sponsorships, a lot of Ole Miss students are in fraternities and sororities, and they have philanthropies. And one of the biggest things we thought, I mean, we didn't get much research into it, but one of the big things we thought is maybe have a sorority sponsor an event. They have everybody come down and experience Tupelo, and then it starts getting word of mouth within the Ole Miss community. Okay, again, sororities and fraternities have a lot of money. They can bring in corporate sponsorships as well because of parents and things like that. So those were a couple ideas we had outside the box that we just couldn't throw in because of wanting to keep it simple and seeing how well this campaign itself went first. And then thank you for your time. And then if you have any questions, please let us know.
I had a question. Obviously, you were focusing in, or are focusing in on this same concept. Obviously, would work. I would think the research would carry over to Mississippi State.
Yeah, this is a really, you can, you know, use this format for any.
It's very you can transform this to other universities and schools in the area. There's a few community colleges that could also be targeted to increase that type of work.
And also, while you have this set up, I think a 3-month kind of running the media, if you were doing something with this along the lines of the Elvis Festival, where there's a huge event over a short period of time, almost the same kind of concept, trying to get people right there to that. What again was your budget?
$22,000.
Because we had initiated, I don't think I told the group, that initially a $40,000 top end, knowing that Eddie's team's not going to spend that, but we wanted it to be, what, realistic?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why we went with the lower number. He had told us that 40 was the top of the line that we could use, but he had also said that in his experience, that 40K would be an excellent budget. So we wanted to kind of offer something that maybe might be a little more realistic, more in the price range, and delivers a lot of value. It's simple, but it's effective.
The funny thing with social media is that it's starting to become so massive, and there's so many creative ideas, especially with Instagram and Facebook with the live feeds. Especially for an event, if you have a social media person for DTMSA, they could be constantly live streaming the event on Facebook, having people keep up with it. And other than that, there are more innovations to that too, especially with drones that are coming out. I mean, who's heard of drones? Things that fly in the air. So one of the biggest things is you could have a drone actually flying over the event, videoing and live streaming an event for DTMSA, which would also send out awareness and have people interested. Because one of the biggest things within the mind of the consumer is being there. If they see a live video, they feel like they're being interacted with, and that ultimately relays the thing that I want to be there, because they have this thing called FOMO. Especially with millennials, it's like fear of missing out. So if they're watching this video, they're seeing it live, they're afraid they're going to miss out on this great opportunity. So ultimately, again, this is why we went to social media, because of FOMO, the fear of missing out. They'll want to go and experience these events.
This is just a sort of a side question in terms of your research, and you talk about it's the event itself, not knowing what's going on. Did you have any interaction or any research that talked in terms of what was actually like the entertainment? Would it be specific to who the entertainer was, or do you think we can target just the event itself, as you say, just to be there?
So the survey actually featured a question, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it's in your book. The survey had a question about what types of events people would like to attend, and so I'm pretty sure that in the campaign book I also mentioned how many, or like what people responded to the most, but a lot of respondents to the survey answered that they really enjoyed live music events, and that they liked the idea of an outdoor concert where you can buy food from vendors and beer and stuff and hang out. And so I think that was basically the highest response rate we got for that question. So people are definitely interested in the types of events that are being offered. They just don't know about them, and they also just don't have the safe or affordable transportation to get there.
You can also cater different events to different social media mediums that are so for example, Facebook, you're going to get an older demographic than you're going to get on Instagram. So if you have an event that's maybe, say, more family oriented and has options for kids, parents are more likely to see that on Facebook than they are on Instagram or Twitter. So you can boost that more so through Facebook, opposed to Instagram or Twitter. And then an event that would, if you're targeting, just anyone and everyone, or like our Bud and Burgers idea. Obviously, you have the idea of like a beer and having a drink with your friends and a burger. So that would be also targeting families, but also targeting millennials who would love to go get a beer and a burger with their friends. So you could boost that more so on Instagram to apply or to apply. Thank you.
To address our audience.
Yes, to address that audience more appropriately.
Personally, and I think I can speak for, a lot of millennials, especially on the students, because I've been here for 4 years. But not only do we want to go see, we see who the band is, and we're really excited about it. So the event we all went to, we didn't even, we saw who the band was, but we forgot that it was Jim Crosby until like 10 minutes before we got there. And we were like, oh yeah, who's playing again? Because we just want to see the town. We want to go to the event, experience the event, but then we also want to go spend money within Tupelo and support the small businesses. And we wanted to check out a couple of the bars. We walked around town a little bit. So we want to go hit the event, but we also want to like get more for our buck. You know, when we go to the event, but we also go to the town.
Yeah, that's kind of the bet here. So you were kind of addressing the idea, we have to cater every advertisement to the individual event? We would recommend, because it's kind of hard to market something as intangible as a town. Our bet is that we can market the really fun event, and then once they get there, we think that the town will do the rest of the work for us.
Especially if the Megabus sponsorship would be a factor in that, because basically, you know, personally, if I knew that I had a safe ride there and back, and that I wouldn't have to like drive in there, I would totally stay, go to the bars and restaurants, you know, maybe have a drink. And so I think that most Ole Miss students, if they knew that they had a safe and affordable ride there and back, would definitely bring more business and spend more money there, because they'd be less worried about how am I going to get home, am I going to get a DUI, am I going to have to pay for a $100 Uber, and you know, all that.
And we're all afraid of parking too, because Ole Miss has really traumatized us on parking.
But there's a lot of precedence for Ole Miss kids going to town, it's like an hour away. I can't count on all of our hands the number of times I've heard one of my buddies say Tunica, or Clarksdale, or something like that. You know, so people do get out of town. Yeah, people get out of town. There's an interest to go and do fun things on the weekends.
Did you get any information actually from Megabus? I mean, is it $10 Megabus, right? I mean, economically, is that?
Yeah, most of their rides are $1. I have taken a Megabus from Memphis to Houston, where I'm from, for $1. $1. I swear.
But don't they have established routes that they use?
They do.
Check into the feasibility of a special event.
They haven't done it before. But our bet is that because they're already in the area, y'all have a big enough slate of events to where it wouldn't just be a one-off shoot type of thing. We think that it wouldn't be that difficult to convince them of the benefits for them as well, because for leasing out one or two of their buses for these, you know, few events, they're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new customers that, you know, can maybe eventually change Megabus to their preferred mode of transportation across the country. That's kind of going to be the selling point.
Debbie, on the Elvis Festival 1 and then Death Week 2, there's a lot of back and forth between Memphis and the area.
Actually, what we found is there are individuals that will make that stop a bookend of their trip to Memphis, Tupelo. But there are also a lot of people that go to Memphis and they want to come to Tupelo, but there's no way to get there.
Yeah.
They're either international and they don't want to rent a car, or you know, they want an affordable way to do it. There are one or two people that do a mini tour, but in terms of like actually being able to market that and bring people to Tupelo, it's not. I mean, there's not been a.
Well, that could actually be created into like a triangle route, since there was that short route between Memphis and Oxford, and then we had suggested the route between Oxford and Tupelo. I mean, it could really even make a little triangle. It just depends on the willingness. Obviously, if Megabus to cooperate with that, but if it's something, you know, because Memphis is a large city, and so it's a hub for Megabus, and so they're already there. If they travel to Tupelo and like get exposure in Tupelo, get exposure in Oxford, I think that would actually be a feasible idea.
If it turns out that Megabus is not a feasible idea, there's always Uber as a backup option. They do group rates as well. And again, same concept. You can add advertising in that. It's just going to be a smaller pool of people you can fit in a car. But again, if Megabus is not feasible, this is why we have Uber as a backup option.
Well, actually, that suggestion is a very good one, because I think there are more opportunities than just our events. Because game weekends, we have a lot of parents and fans that stay in Tupelo. Long
term, yeah, if if the route proved to be successful enough, then it could become an actual stop.
I was going to say, I actually think that if the route was established as a sponsorship of DTMSA, it probably would also go on more of a long-term basis because it would be more profitable for Megabus to do that. So that could actually be good for the city in general.
And the low price of all their rides is kind of what made us think it would be feasible, because if you're getting a bus trip, a 9-hour, 10-hour bus trip from Houston to Memphis for $1, it's hard for me to think that them giving out one bus for this one route, it's hard for me to see that not being something that they might be interested in.
Can I ask just one more quick question? Something that's curious to me, your target audience is millennials, but you're doing a lot of newspaper advertising, magazine advertising, billboards, radio, very traditional stuff, but I'm not convinced millennials even read the newspaper.
Well, a lot of millennials read the Local Voice and the Daily Mississippian, and if they, for the non-traditional one, or not non-traditional, but for the more traditional ones that we said skewed older, we were already so under budget. We just wanted to throw that in there because it's an easy thing to do, and it, for the millennials that do read those things, it's another way, just another area for it to get exposure. We do think the biggest kind of impact is going to be the social media, obviously, but billboards, that we do think that's a big thing, because I can go on my Instagram right now and show you just thousands of towns and their Instagrammable spots. It's kind of important to have somewhere that people like to take a picture of, and so if we can make those billboards the kind of focal point in their heads of like, oh, that's the Tupelo billboard. It's just another thing that they can take pictures of on Instagram.
Well, the creative is important as well. It's going to get their attention. It's going to be just some kind of ROI. It's got to be pretty standard.
Especially in Mississippi, we all know there's not much when you're driving down the road, going 70, and you're trying to look at nothing but trees and cows. That's why we included billboards, because constantly you're maybe driving from here to home, or from here to the coast, or here to Tupelo. You see a billboard, you have DTMSA, maybe you might make a stop in that town, and it might stick in your mind. So that's why we included a medium that might be dedicated towards an older audience, but still your millennials are constantly driving at something they would see, and that's why we included that one as well.
That was actually one of the main reasons why we chose to include billboards, because even when I drive home to Tupelo just for breaks and things, I constantly see students from Georgia and Alabama and just sometimes Florida. It's kind of weird. But that type of presence will still increase brand awareness. So if they come through Tupelo, then that might actually encourage them to stop and engage with the community.
I have one more quick question. Can I ask a quick one? Did you guys think through it all, since there's a Tupelo billboard and you're mainly targeting millennials, how will people in Tupelo kind of receive that message, since you've gone very millennial-centric? Are they going to live together? I know that,
yeah.
But in Oxford, there's this whole thing that maybe you know or not, but when the students leave, we all go, yay, we can go back to our own stuff now. Did you think about how millennials will work in with the Tupelo base?
I got this.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, again, with this campaign, since we went simple and we did choose a very defined target audience, since this is so simple and it can be fill in place, that was the concept of it. So, if that target audience didn't work out, we can go back to the press release, radio advertisement, billboard, and change it to a different targeted audience. And based on location, if you wanted to change it up and not include millennials and dedicate just towards families, you can do that as well. Again, it's fill in place.
Did you do any research though to see how people in Tupelo would receive the
you're
concept?
talking about
the
their
research.
reaction to it. Well,
yeah, because it's going to be in Tupelo.
Right.
So if you're targeting Ole Miss students and your billboard is in Tupelo, you got to kind of think, I would hope, how Tupelo residents are going to. I'm not saying that they wouldn't. I'm just asking.
I understand. So, yeah, sure.
Okay, so the thing about this is we do want to target millennials with this, but with the examples that we've shown, they're not so targeted to millennials that the Tupelo community can't relate to them. So they are still broad enough to your current market that they can relate to millennials, but they can still be included in Tupelo and relate to our community.
That's actually.
That's what we talked about too.
Answer the biggest question actually was that the reason we did include those mediums and the reason that we formatted it that way was so that we can target our audience but not alienate the audience that you already have. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other
I have a
questions?
couple.
Jean?
I really like your tagline, big things come from small places, and the translation to the hashtag, I really like that. One of my favorites was the billboard with the tagline, "Own It." That was just, I could so see that driving on 6, coming from here to Tupelo. That popped. I really liked that. And then I appreciated y'all going way under budget, being from Main Street Association. All of our advertising budgets, if they exist, are shoestrings, so really appreciate y'all taking that into consideration. I think y'all did a really good job with, making the buck, go for extending it as well as you could. So thank you for thinking through that. Good job.
We didn't think that it needed to be super expensive in order to be effective. It just matters, how you target and how specifically you target, especially because social media is just so cheap and so cost effective to use, and it's become such a huge medium for advertising recently that it's pretty easy to stretch a buck on a campaign like this.
Well, I would say that I've got lots of notes, key points that you put out, but I think having somebody from Tupelo was an asset to all of you because the billboard scenario in Tupelo is a big thing with the crosstown, and everybody has to stop at crosstown at least 8 times a day or 29 times a day. There are 29 trains a day. So that having that knowledge or that research was an asset for y'all. But in terms of your millennials and the transfer of what you're doing, not only for the college students, is very applicable for Tupelo proper because you probably know we have a hard time getting the millennials downtown. And so it's very applicable too. So that's those.
The downtown main event was an event that's kind of designed along those lines.
For the millennials, but we've had other events that people just happen to phone and they say, I didn't know about this, or, how can I get more involved, or this is a cool event. So it's very transferable.
Some collateral benefit. Some collateral benefit.
Yes, very much so.
Again, we wanted to go deeper with ideas because I was spouting them out all left and right. And when I first met them too, I literally was asking so many questions about different things. But again, we just decided to keep it simple. I guess just one of the big things was trying to reach them first before we could step onto that next platform of going with creative and not wasting money. So this is the best cost-effective way to do this first.
Well, and I'll speak from the Main Street world. It's very easy for a Main Street program to get a mile wide and an inch deep because we cover so many bases to be very focused. That's a key.
Yeah. This has been a good group. They've worked hard all semester and have been very engaged and very obviously very passionate about what they did, and we appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Okay.
Thank you all.